Oh man. Yeah, doesn't go down far enough. There we go. Okay, let me grow up the chat here. Pull up the chat. Grow up the chat. Yeah, simple as that. How's it going, guys? Let me just pull up the chat real quick. It's Tuesday. We're 5:39 p.m. and I had about a half an hour to blow. I was going to do this yapping out in the ocean or whatever in that one game, but I figured, let me separate these since I forgot to start my laundry. I'm just going into Find Me channel. I don't know the quickest way or easiest way to pull up chat. No, that ain't it. It takes about, there's like a 30-second delay before my channel actually shows. I am streaming. Sorry guys, just give me 30 seconds. It should pop up. Of course it's not. Oh, I guess it is. It's already there. I'm looking at the there we go. Okay. There. I'm live, right? Did I go live? Okay, now I'm going to pop out the chat and I should be okay. Am I done? I'm done. Okay, whoops. Good enough. What am I at? Full screen? Perfect. So how's it going, guys? Sorry about that. I do have the chat available, so if you want to ask me questions if you're there, or if you show up, or whatever. I used to get a lot of people that all of a sudden pop in the chat whenever I did a live stream, and I was just like, now without doing the Run 8 as much, or really at all, that's changed a little bit, so. But I'm only going to give this about a half an hour because I don't want to make this too long and too dragged out, and I don't want to keep on dragging the same thing over and over and over again. I did a channel update not too long ago, and what I did at that instance was basically say that I was going to explore other software that I liked and let the channel grow in various ways outside of just trains. The viewership is not nearly as high, which is to be expected. I have promoted certain, some of the communities that I've been on, such as the Barents Sea community, which is fairly new. I haven't done subsistence. Sometimes I don't even know why I do YouTube, to be quite honest, because you have to have 1,000 members or 1,000 subscribers. If you're a big if you're a big place like, I don't know even if Run 8 Depot could get 1,000 subscribers. Maybe they do. I don't know. But 1,000 subscribers is a lot. I can see if it's train sim based, like, because that's a much more mainstream simulator, or if it was Train Sim World based, then I can see. But the typical YouTuber basically deals with playing multiple games, kind of like what I'm doing, except they're playing the stuff that they like, but at the same time they're also trying to find more and more popular games so that they can grow the base of the channel. That's not my goal. Yes, my goal is to grow the channel, hopefully to reach that 1,000 criteria and make some peanuts off of YouTube advertising. That'd be at least something that I can bring in as a wee little trickle of income. But that's where this relates to, and I wanted to get to that. So what we've got, I've got probably, and I thought about this today, and today was a dull, boring day, except I got enough sleep last night. Unlike the other night, I was lying here running my boat through the ocean or whatever. I was just doing this open ocean thing to try to find missions, and I was already tired. That was a mistake. I should have gone fishing or something that would have kept my attention span going. Surveillance, another one. Unfortunately, surveillance hugely complicated, and it takes a lot to learn, and then you got to use your memory, which isn't the greatest for me. But anyways, enough about the others. I want to talk RTS. So RTS has always been about car forwarding primarily. It's never been about one simulator, despite the fact that I've had the biggest run with Run 8, no pun intended. It really started before MSTS did, not before MSTS started, but before I integrated it into parts of MSTS. It's been involved in TD3. So what happened was, it started as a concept that I wanted some type of software that was going to manage a car forwarding system from either theoretically locations far and wide, and it was going to handle the shippers, the consignees. It might act as a model railroad software as well, but the whole idea was to simulate a railroad transportation simulator. Was to simulate, and the reason why it was called a simulator was to simulate the actual calls of traffic for various commodities. It would match the shippers and the consignees, put them on trains, assign them, and away things go. Now, I didn't have, at the time I did not have a simulator that I could handle it, because I wanted it to be potentially real time. I wanted it to be multiplayer. This was back before I knew anything about the development of Run 8. I don't even know if Run 8 was in development when I started this. So what I did was, I was already writing activities for Microsoft Train Simulator. I decided to in a combination of using TD3 and my alliances with Ted Kosala with Microsoft Train Simulator, and he eventually, he belonged to the Waterloo Model Railroad Club, which I was a member for, I don't know how many years I was a member there, but I left last year. The odd thing was, I left last year because I was still in the whole Run 8 world, and going an hour and a half back and forth to Waterloo, which was an hour and a half away from me, and sessions were coming. The cool thing about the club was, it was an operations-based club. We have clubs around here, but it's nothing compared to the operation. If you ever do a Google search for Waterloo Regional Model Railway, I think it's Waterloo Region Model Railway or whatever, or it's based on CP Rail out of Sudbury, Ontario. It's a really cool thing to, if you're into model railroading and you want to see a really prototypical. It's actually a really cool system. So wow, it's 5:47. I'm yapping. Let's get to the point. So yeah, I went in. I did some activity editors in one of his routes that he did for oh shoot, was it? Yeah, it was the Mac Tier sub, because Mac Tier sub was something that fed into Sudbury out of Toronto. So I ran activities, and I manually moved cars around, and the whole idea was real time to progress from one activity to the other. I used TD3. I built a TD3 territory for Mac Tier based on data that I had from the club. That territory is still available at what the hell is it? Dispatch Central Yahoo group, if you're looking for that for TD3. So what had happened was, I found the activity editor was really troublesome. So don't get me wrong, I wrote activities. I've had success with writing activities for Microsoft Train Simulator, but there was a lot of bugs in it. And I found that when you try to get it to do certain things a certain way, if it didn't agree to how Microsoft had it programmed. It wouldn't let you do it. There was waiting points you could use. They were a little buggy, passing points, all kinds of things. But there was a lot of bugginess about Microsoft Train Simulator to begin with. Now, the funny thing is, OpenRails might have been able to do it, but I got away from that, and I started getting back into Train Dispatcher 3, which I was already owned, and I enjoyed dispatching. And this was part of my idea of, well, you know, I enjoyed dispatching, so I thought to myself, well, you know, maybe that simulator can not only be car forwarding one day, but it might be dispatching. Maybe it'll be a 3D simulator. Maybe RTS will be developed into a 3D simulator. Maybe it'll become something where there's real live dispatching, kind of like the flight simulator communities have with air traffic control and massive servers and people all over the world, which is very popular. You can get hundreds of people on a server, no problem. So that I figured it would work, but I was into TD3, and then I thought one day, you know, I was in contact with a couple people in the area. Actually, I'm just trying to remember the names. There goes my memory again. Oh man, it's horrible. But anyways, there's Michael Phillips was one. I'm trying to remember the other guy because Michael Phillips is the only guy I know at all, or I've at least seen post a message in the last couple of years. Rob Ball was the other one. There we go. Now I remember. Rob, I tried to contact him. I don't know what happened to Rob. I always wanted to see if he would get into Run 8 because Michael Phillips did. And we had a little three thing going. I won't say threesome, sorry, that just doesn't sound right, but we had a really cool setup where we were running, and Michael Phillips loves dispatching as well, and obviously was into TD3, but he hadn't gotten into Run 8 yet. Around that time, I got the invite from Dale Miller. Well, first I was, you know, he says, I think you might be interested in something called Run 8. And I'm like, oh, because I hadn't heard of about it, right? And he knew what I was after. And I was like, it's multiplayer, there's this train simulator, there's this whole thing. By the way, the whole TD3 thing, that had multiplayer built into it. Or sorry, it didn't have multiplayer built into it, but what I did was I made it so that we would use a handler program that would basically allow spawning of trains or something. I forget how the hell we had it set up, but it worked pretty good. And a train would pop. Oh no, yeah. What would happen is the handler software would allow you to spawn a train, which a lot of people didn't realize could happen in TD3. So while you could schedule trains to start in your territory, what I did was I took out the trains to randomly show up, or did I actually have them pop up? No, I had them pop up in the staging area. So the staging area was there, and what happened was the trains would hold until the actual train arrived on the territory. So it created a kind of a handoff approach, something that was really I didn't get to experience again, at least the dispatcher handoff approach, until some of the probably the one I keep on going back to was January of last year, at the peak of version 2 as far as I'm concerned, when the Southwest server, which was then the RTS California server, still operated by Mike, actually had we had it set up where it was 100% trains, everything. You know, traffic density was huge. Seligman was not there yet. LA was not there yet, but for a while there, and this was at the beginning of AI, where everybody's all excited, and we're just we were having a blast with it. And I remember when it first came out how everybody was into it. And I would like to think that everybody is still into it, but I don't think everybody is still into it. Despite what some people may think about the popularity and whatever you know is supposedly the traffic levels or the popularity of Run 8 or whatever the case may be, I see a lot of familiar names that are no longer around. I see new names, so maybe the new names are overwhelming. I see the Southwest server is just recently broke a record that was, I don't know if it was tied between myself and Mike in transferring to Southwest. I think I had 13 on my server as well when it transferred over to Mike, and for years, even after Southwest was originally the Southwest or the California server, where Mike took over the server so I can focus on other projects. Mainly I was looking for either the Northeast, probably the Northeast, because there was a Southeast, or there was a Florida California or Florida Run 8 server, which became the Southeast server once they left RTS as well. But what we had was that situation where 13 was all that unlucky number. We could never bypass it, and I guess Mike did it on Sunday. So I congratulated him the other day about that. So he got 14. I wish I could have been there. I would have made it 15, you know. And honestly, if it had been a Sunday and it was an open Sunday and I had a lot of available time, I would go on despite my inactivity with Run 8 right now. I would go on. The issues I have right now with going on to servers, including the Southwest server, is I only have a small window of opportunity, and Tuesdays and Thursdays are the worst nights for me to do it, and it's all cramped up. And then by the time I'm moving around, I like helping out and being able to bring trains in and all that, but even running trains, that's not the thing. I've been trying all kinds of different things on the servers, whether it be switching, running, whatever. You never know what the hell you're going to do until you get there. And it's not like, hey, you can be the dispatcher of this territory, or hey, you can be the yardmaster of this territory, or hey, you can be this. It's not like those perfect positions that you would have in a model railroad club. Instead, it's like, well, there's 30 or so trains moving around, and I mean, you can run an intermodal, or you can run on this route, or you can run on that route, or you can run this type of train, or you can run, hey, you might get lucky and a passenger train might run every few weeks, because I mean, there's only 2 passenger trains that run the whole route. Or sorry, I forgot about LA. Okay, you want to run to San Francisco, or you want to run from that little stretch to San Francisco, LA, I mean, knock yourself out. But I'm thinking more, that doesn't even last 90 minutes. I've had that run. That thing doesn't even last 90 minutes. So I mean, if I was lucky enough to get it at the right place at the right time, well, maybe I could. Maybe I have to look at the schedule more, and if I want a passenger train, I suppose I could run it. But no, I was thinking of the one that runs from Seligman, even though I would have to take it at Needles, or who knows, maybe I can run it the opposite way. I don't mind running across the desert at 90 miles an hour. It's okay with me. It's not too bad. You get to see a lot more traffic when you're running 90 miles an hour, which is kind of cool. But then again, it's just traffic, and I like overtaking trains in double track. I don't like getting stuck by a bunch of trains in double track. That's not so much fun. But anyways, wow, it's already 6 o'clock, and I haven't really got to my point, have I? Okay, let's speed this up because I got things to do tonight. So yeah, the whole history with the whole Run 8 thing. So I've already explained why I think I've explained why I'm not doing Run 8, at least right now. Right now, I've already gone through that. I'm not going to rehash that again. But other than, I never know what's going on. basically. Yeah, you might see a local job. Anyways, I've already been there. I don't want to go ranting about that. I've already explained about, you know, not enough smaller routes. I've already explained about not enough updates compared to what was happening in version 1. It's the changes that's happened in version 2 are minuscule compared to what's happened in version 1. Mind you, they had more years to do it. Version 2, it hasn't been as long, but still. There was drastic changes that took place in version 1, whereas version 2, we haven't seen the drastic changes as far as I'm concerned. It's relatively the same. So that was I saw this latest update, and since I hadn't seen any updates in a few months, I just said, you know, I gotta stop just making an excuse on a Tuesday and Thursday night to just run trains and get that out of my system, whereas I have Mondays and Wednesdays totally available. So now the question lies, where do I go from here? I've already tried the other distractions. I've already tried, you know, I got my summers busy. I'm seeing my son more often. In fact, I'm seeing him, you know, even a little bit more often come Sunday nights. I get him till 9 now. He persuaded his mom so he can stay from, instead of 7, he can stay till 9 now. So my Sunday nights are fine. I'm not going to get much done on a Sunday anyway. So Mondays and Wednesdays are my big days. Wednesdays I usually do groceries. I'm laundry. I'm waiting for my laundry to done. Usually I do it on Wednesday because I have a free night. So I don't get as much done on Wednesdays. This is why I wanted to do this right now. Well, my laundry is probably finished by now, but anyways, that's okay. I can sit there and dry, because then I have to go to a laundromat to get a dryer because my dryer still doesn't work. And that's what happens when you're renting a place. You know, slumlords. You know what it's like. But anyways, maybe you don't. So where do I go from here? And this is what I was thinking about today, and this is where the point of the video. It took me half an hour to get to it. So as far as I can tell, there's 3 ways I could go. And believe me, I've thought about the first 2. Number 3 will only happen if competition suddenly appeared. So option number 1 is the option I prefer to take. Do I have the initiative? Do I have the drive? Do I have the will? Option number 1 is not fun. It's the less fun route. It's potentially has the possibility of making a small profit, so I can actually make some money without having to worry relying on YouTube or anything like that. I can actually generate a revenue. And option 1 is to basically detach myself totally from Run 8 as far as RTS goes and do my own thing. That is the way I planned on going. It was probably something where I have said I would start in the fall, but we're not at the fall yet, and already I'm finding that some of my other distraction projects are not enough to hold my interest, because I used to have that Run 8 thing holding my interest. I've been finding my Mondays and Wednesdays are particularly open, and trying to fill that interest is now got me making not only option 1, which is the less fun route, right? So you detach yourself from Run 8, you just develop something, and you see where it goes from there. Option 2, believe it or not, is to put a server up. And I'm not talking about running a session on a Monday and a Wednesday like I used to. I'm talking about actually putting a server up. And I think it's a bad investment. I think it's risky. I think I'm going to generally probably get sick of it. And who knows what else. The reason why I say option 1 is I'm curious about how many people are out there that are going to really want to see this happen. Option 1, unfortunately, does not involve Run 8. It may never involve Run 8. I don't know what Run 8's doing. But here's what I can do. I can tell you right now, and I've said this before. I'll say it again. I have the procedures, the means necessary to build an AI dispatching system. In other words, my system does work, because all it is the system that I follow when I dispatch, and that's the 30-15 rule. And I can dispatch anything using that rule alone, with interruptions and handling exceptions and a few other things, but it shouldn't be a problem, especially on a single track line. Double track, it's a little more complex, because then you're dealing with passing algorithms and a few other things. But on a single track line, especially the smaller lines that I want to do, if those regions ever came out, I could easily do it. Somebody told me the other day, well, why don't you just open up the port? The problem with the port is there's a DLL that's required on both ends, and then you have to figure out what the hell's going on. And they're very tight on security right now, and they don't want their DLLs messed with. So they don't want, in other words, they don't want anybody getting into the software and spawning off. Apparently the external dispatcher has a lot of power. It's not just to throw signals, but they don't want anybody who's on a server that can pick it up and just basically go ahead and play with signals, in other words. I guess that's how it goes. So you need the support of the developers. You need some kind of link. I don't know what's going on with TSCAD. I really don't care. I've lost total hope for that, and that's, you know, I don't know what's going on. He seemed to be making a lot of progress, so it's too bad something wasn't released with that progress. But hey, you know, it's his puppy. Me, I can't even get much code otherwise. In other words, I'm learning new languages. Languages aren't that difficult, especially with the way I'm going. The way I'm going is a 2D simulator. I'm looking at having a more enhanced TD3 with more features. But I'm also looking, and that's with AI dispatching. But I'm also looking at the other component, and that is the freight forwarding and the yards, especially the Yardmaster modules. So here's how it would work. For those of you that are familiar with what the hell is it? Yard Duty, Freight Yard Manager. By the way, I tried to bring the RTS concepts to that Freight Yard Manager at least. They didn't want anything to do with it. They liked it the way it was, and the guy who had it at the time, which I think he sold it since, he didn't want it to have anything to do with interfacing with anything else, and blah 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 blah. Like, yeah, okay, whatever. Yard Duty, the guys at Yard Duty, on the other hand, were interested, because they were trying to resurrect the software, which basically Freight Yard Manager did essentially what Yard Duty did, and Yard Duty was abandonware or something. I don't know what the hell it was, but apparently that's out there. So, but so anyways, the reason why I say Yard Manager and Freight Yard Manager and Yard Duty, sorry, is it's a top-down view of maps. I would have something similar to that, except I wouldn't use Google Maps or anything like that, because I would be actually in there. He couldn't have sold the company, it was free. That doesn't make sense. So anyways, I wouldn't use those because of that. I just realized that. So I think Yard Duty, you could Yard Duty was at one point. Anyways, sorry, getting distracted. So, hey, nobody's on to chat. Jeez, they must have given up on me. Freight Yard Manager, Yard Duty, whatever, be it free or not, uses Google Images, and the trains are superimposed on those maps. Because of Google and all that other stuff, you can't really use their proprietary software unless you have some application that integrates their software into it. So I would avoid all that and just go with a 2D map. It's not built to be a 3D simulator. But what I want to do is demonstrate, and I haven't worked on these algorithms yet, but knowing my car forwarding abilities with RTS. Oh, there's somebody. Hello, Michael. Cool. I'm glad to see people are alive. I was just wondering, because I was looking at the chat. I was like, the chat's empty. I don't know how many people are watching. I just got the chat window open. But normally I don't have the chat window open because I'm busy with a full screen doing whatever. So I won't be here much longer because I got to get my laundry to the laundromat to dry and go do groceries. But anyways, so what I wanted to do is basically take a yard simulator and create AI for switching purposes. In other words, I believe Freight Yard Manager had an automated hump. Sorry, they didn't have an AI hump. They did have a hump though. This was before Run 8 did it. They had a cool hump that would sort the cars, but you still had to run it. That's one thing I would love to see in Run 8 too, is an AI hump, AI switching, AI dispatching. All these things are to help, not to take it into single player, although I can see single player loving it. It's to help some of these bigger territories run bigger servers and fill in the gaps and run 24/7 servers, like a lot of 24/7 servers used to be out there. There's not too many now that really run full-blown 24/7. Even Southwest and Southeast doesn't really have a dispatcher, and Southwest pauses the clock and only allows switching. So you either have to be there Tuesdays, Thursdays, and the odd Sundays and run at that right time, or you're not going to get in, and then you're just stuck switching, which is okay if you want to do switching, but anyways. So what I wanted to do was put a 2D top-down design, have the train come in as an example, start out that way, and basically be able to set off a block of cars and know how to do it. Maybe even have an AI conductor come out and walk around and throw the switches, although that'd be a feature down the road. The point of the matter is having the cars stop, the train stop, maybe have some type of AI integration where it slows down. I'm not worried about physics so much. Run 8's the master of physics. I will never compete with that, nor do I want to try. Have the train come out, set off on a pre-assigned track or something, or even an AI yard master who decides what's available based on capacity left over, what jobs are coming up, what needs to go in, out, whatever, and basically from there decide, okay, you got this track, you lined up to this track, the AI train starts backing up, sets its cars off, takes the engines back out, realigns the switches, attaches to its train, maybe slow, time would compress or slow down enough so that you had enough time to build the air in the train. He takes off. Then what happens is the switcher comes out. I don't know how big this yard's going to be as a sample, but who knows, maybe I'll use something that Run 8 uses, like Bakersfield or something like that, something I'm familiar with. And so the switcher comes out, they take the cars, and once again tries to find assigned tracks, goes up, comes back, goes up, comes back, does its thing, all without any human interaction. And the whole point of that is you're filling the human role. You're not yes, you're taking over humans. That's what all AI is doing right now with jobs in the real world. They're trying to take over for human jobs. We don't want simulators that take over everything, because what we want to do is encourage people to take those roles. There's two things that happen when you have AI taking over. Number one, if you can look over the shoulder of what an AI is doing, you'll learn at least the basics. You won't get the teaching, you won't get the hands-on experience, but you'll get to see how a yard is switched. And perhaps there would be, you know, something to pop up to say what it's doing or what its priority is, or I don't know what. The bottom line is it would be able to switch that yard. You integrate those maps in with other maps on a multiplayer wide network, integrate that with the dispatcher software, suddenly you have an entire railroad that is potentially possible to run 24/7 AI, maybe connecting to other servers. How about server cooperation, where you own, you know, you manage a certain area and make sure that, you know, everything's running, or you assign the trains or the locals that run out of them, and if somebody wants to run a certain area or whatever, then they can do it. Now, I'm not saying that that would necessarily be the case, but because everything's processing power, AI requires a lot of processing power, and that's one thing that happens with Run 8 right now. And when they up those numbers, and even John had mentioned it in the notes, when they up those numbers, and I see it in the hump yard as well in Run 8, I see the humps in Run 8, there's a lot of, anytime AI, especially in a huge map, it takes tremendous resources. It's actually hurting some of the mid-grade computers like mine, because I'm getting hump failures more and more. Not everybody gets hump failures. I do. I got a mid-range computer. It's not it's not the low end of the requirements. It actually meets and exceeds the requirements, but it's still considered mid-range. But it is experiencing issues. It doesn't always do it. Yeah, it can lock the frames at 20 or whatever. It has a hard time holding 20 frames, whereas a lot of people can do 60 or more. You don't need 60, but anyways, that's the standard. So those are the two directions. So the one direction is go that way. The second one, as I was saying, and yeah, Mikey's here, so I can mention this one too, and that was the server that I would open up would be the Northeast. We already have, there's enough California servers, and quite frankly, there's enough servers in the Southeast, as far as I know. Besides, I don't know for certain, but it's just, for me, I really want to do things in the Northeast, whether it be, and even, I think Mikey mentioned it the other day. He was saying about how even if you do something a little bit fictitious or proto-lance or something like that, I mean, you can go ahead and do it, which is true. The issue what's holding me back from doing it on my own right now is if I'm doing it on my own, or doing it to where I host once in a while, I either have to restrict myself to a very small area, which I've had mentioned, people have mentioned over on TrainSim, for example, that they run the Sanford sub, and I said, well, that's fine, and they said because you don't see too many trains on the Sanford sub, and I says, well, you do. You actually do see some trains. You don't see as much trains on the Sanford sub, and that's why I had a Sanford sub project for a while. The problem with the Sanford sub, unlike Selkirk in many areas, Sanford sub, you ever go down to that south end, if you're driving a train, you are not going to be able to dispatch at the same time. You better have your routes set up, everything better be all set and going, and even if you're in the passing sidings at various places, you are honking like crazy. So honking and dispatching at the same time is very, very difficult and stressful, even on single player. But my whole point as to dividing these areas up and limiting, say you're limiting, so you have clients. I think I had one regular who used to come on the when I ran Northeast. I had one regular, and he came on and he ran all the jobs. He liked running them, and I just dispatched. And I think there was still issues with the hump or whatever, and probably my computer wasn't strong enough as well. But it was just it was too much, I guess. The bottom line, if the hump doesn't work, the bottom line is if it doesn't work for my system, I'll just flat switch. I don't care. But we'll see. I haven't tried it under more recent conditions. But the idea that I was going to go with, which was the option number 2, is to put up a 24/7 server. And basically, it is the reason why I would choose a Northeast, other than lack of representation, is that I could proto-lance it. I could futuristically shut down Selkirk, because Selkirk, apparently the hump is shutting down, and then I can go ahead and that's what they want to do, CSX. Then I can go ahead and decide, how I want to worry about the blockings and stuff like that. Maybe upgrade the RTS software, maybe, although I'm not too worried about that. But instead of worrying about the blocking diagrams, because I think I was using Conrail, I would just go ahead and do it. But the whole idea would be to try and just let it go. Give ideas for people as to what can be done and can't be done. Let this train spawn on the 24/7. Let them come out, and then basically assign the jobs, assign the industries, and if it doesn't get done, it doesn't get done. If it's there to dispatch, it dispatches, and just go that. Now the problem with that is, I think I honestly feel in my mind at that point, I would become very bored of it very quickly. And I'm not just talking Northeast. I would become bored with, just like I became bored with California again. These things are so huge. So hopefully we got some smaller regions coming. But even if we don't, I can't wait for that, because I don't think it's coming until version 3. I don't know for sure, but I know some people know. Maybe, but they can't say. And I know non-disclosure agreements. I understand them. I've been there. I think I'm still under one, apparently. But so remember, you're on YouTube, Mikey. Don't say anything. You get in trouble. You can call me later. No, I'm only kidding. Mikey's never told me anything he's not supposed to. So yeah, so those are basically my 2 options. Option number 3 I haven't really thought about until later today, and option number 3 is competition comes, and competition gives me something better to do right now. I mean, I could go to open rails. The thing is, my Run 8, there's no competition for Run 8. There really isn't, and I keep saying that. And I miss Run 8. I really do miss Run 8. Yeah, it's fun to go and do some of these other things, but Run 8 was such a part of me for the longest time, and a lot of times it was fun. But unfortunately, the peak that I experienced back a year ago, and some of the projects that I tried going on, what happens when you have the bigger territories, and I was doing something as a server, as a host. When you limit an area, say you just do Mohawk or you do whatever, you're now relying on those clients to join you, especially if you need their help or really could use their help. I mean, you can do it on your own. I had my rule is I have to be able to do everything on my own, but then I could at least I'd have stuff available for clients, but I needed to be able to do everything on my own. That was rule number 1. At least that was. And then I realized, well, that's nice and all, but clients will ultimately get bored, especially if they have all the routes and they have all the stock. I personally can't afford to buy every piece of stock that comes out. It's not the end all, of everything. They won't see it. A lot of times they won't even notice if they're running on a server, but they will notice when they can't run to the end of the territory. I saw that happen the last server that I hosted in California when I was doing Mojave sub again. A lot of people wanted to run, kept on wanting to run east, and I was like, I'm not going to dispatch that far. I mean, I would line them into some siding someplace, and then that was it. I was just like, I'm not dispatching you. I says, I can set up signals. Problem was, the spawners were all the way out in Barstow, so I basically had all the signals fleeted to come down, so the traffic, I didn't know how to dispatch extra. I had other things that was going on. So people want, when they join a server, especially if they have this stuff, they don't want to be limited into an area. Some may, some won't, I don't know. And perhaps there's more out there that are willing to be limited to something. But those are the options I really have right now, is option 1, option 2, option 3. Option 3 is not really applicable because there is no option 3 as far as I'm concerned. I'm not going to Open Rails. I'm sure as hell not going to Train Sim World. And, Microsoft's Train Simulator, forget it. I don't care how many routes they have. And the other ones, like Trains, like what? Trains 19's coming out. What? Is their physics going to be any better? Give me a break. They're not even going to come close. I have an old copy of Trains somewhere, but they're not going to come close. There's no competition. And people aren't worried about it. They have other goals. They're not worried about having the best physics, because they know that Run 8 has the best physics as far as I'm concerned, and they don't, and a lot of people, believe it or not, don't care. It's crazy, but a lot of people don't care. A lot of people want the root editors. A lot of people want want this and want that. They don't care. They want their eye candy. They want whatever. There's so many different things that people want, and that comes with me too. I mean, there's certain things I want. You can't please everybody. I understand that. So yeah, like I said before, Run 8 just had this latest update. It was their first update in 5 months. It was a lot of fixes. It hasn't really shown the growth that version 1 showed from the beginning to the end. Even towards the end of version 1, there's still a lot of new stuff that was coming out year by year. There hasn't been as much new stuff to really sink your teeth into, and filters and stuff like that. That's not big updates. Those are, I mean, they were substantial for me, but I really, even if it's a simple update, great. If it does amazing things, that's awesome. Like add some more, or add some more spawn points. That'd be great. Mikey's got a lot of great spawn points in his route. That's the other reason why I would go with something like that. Or I shouldn't say that. No. If I went 24/7, I wouldn't go that road. I'd actually open up Mohawk and Selkirk totally. I would just leave it open and just have everything spawn on a 24-hour basis. It just sits there. It'll sit there behind a signal and until somebody dispatches it. But I don't know. My prototypical, as much as I like it, my prototypical feel for what I want to do, it pleases me enough that I don't want to run any other simulator, but it's not enough for me to continue. So hi, Quincy. Figure out and where to go. Yeah. I'll comment on that. Quincy I saw the post there from Quincy. My thing is, yeah, I can step up. I can go back to Mojave and just go ahead and do it. But that's not going to keep me happy. It's every time I do it, I'm not happy. That's why I was contemplating if I was going to start. I'd have to basically shell out. Yeah, howdy. So I was gonna shell out another $40 and throw a server back in. I did it with version 1. I never bought a version 2 server because I was already in California. So, wow. I gotta get my clothes dried pretty soon. But anyways, I'll stop this very shortly. But 629. But the whole thing with the version 1 server was, back then we didn't have AI, and I didn't worry. Once you got a taste of AI and all that other stuff, then suddenly everything had changed. Yeah. No, but Selkirk and Mohawk, what I was thinking of doing was not running. I'm thinking about actually buying $40 to do a server. In other words, I'm thinking about actually spending $40, putting up a 24/7 server, and basically letting it be there. The contemplation that I have, and this is where I've come with the different ideas, is I'm stuck between what is somewhat fun, but isn't going to make me any money at all. It's just going to be another distraction, and it's never going to be what I want it to be. You take a look at the Run 8 website, and you take a look. I think it's Brad's words. I'm not 100%, but it's basically the Run 8 words. They were ticked off and pissed that they could not, that they were within the limitations of somebody else's software. That's where I am. I've been in there for a while. And once you're in the limitations, now as a developer, you're like, okay, well, I can make a car forwarding software that just spawns trains till I'm, whatever. If they were able to take that and do something with it, okay, well, that's different. At least that gets you trains going. But then where else do you go? And I realized that at some point I could see that coming into play, where Run 8 could potentially have more regions, and then a particular region would become inviting. That's when I will go out and I will buy version 3 or whatever route that comes out. If they want a business model, they want to make money, make more routes. Make more regions. That alone, I mean, and I know there's some, Mikey's got the Northeast. I know he's mentioned about different things like Buffalo and all that other stuff we've talked about, but I mean, I know the Southeast has talked about expanding. I don't know about the Southwest, if they're going to expand anymore. Jesus, I hope not, but they might. I heard Umasub one time. At least that used to be on the Run 8 list. It's just going to keep getting bigger and bigger, and it's great. It's great for the people that don't care about the limitations, or maybe have a bunch of routes and only care about one certain section. But I don't want, when you have just one route. Say if it was just Mojave sub. Problem is, Mojave is actually combined with Needles. When version 2 came out, Mojave combined with Needles. And what happened there was you couldn't just run one route. I could run just Selkirk and forget about Mohawk if I wanted to, and I was doing that. But again, eventually I got dang, I keep on moving this stamp camera. Eventually I just got bored of it. And it wasn't because, how would you say? It was dispatching, but I was trying to do too much. Version 3 bothers me for reasons, and you know why. If they roll it out on the same platform as version 2, okay. I'm hoping version 3 is on a new platform, personally, or a new game engine, I should say. but I don't know. But see, this is the thing, and most of the people are Run 8. I'm wanting to go a different direction, where I say it's not fun to do option 1. When I say it's not fun to do option 1, yeah, it's not fun developing. I do not like having. I like developing where I can see the world and add industries and just play around with my creation. Well, that's what I used to do in Run 8 when I started developing systems and car forwarding and all that other stuff, because I could work hand in hand with Run 8 and RTS and you know, just start making things happen and test it out. So I got the best of both worlds. That really wasn't developing for me, and RTS is not big software. The RTS beta was not really that big of a software. Where I'm going now is I'm going away from just a text-based system, and I'm going into 2D graphics. The one thing about the 2D graphics, and yes, I've looked at Unreal 4 and I've looked at all that stuff. Every time I go into it, I'm like, yeah, I can do that, and then I realize, yeah, I can, but no, I can't. And it would just become a nightmare, because until I became really proficient at it, I would never be confident enough to do it on my own and be able to make changes at a moment's notice at any time. So what I looked at was what the hell is it called? It was a Game Developer 2. I haven't even been in it for a while. A Game Thing 2 or whatever. Game Maker Pro 2, I think it is. So that looked fairly straightforward. It seemed like I could do 2D no problem. It seemed like I could have file access, and I could do whatever file access I already had going with RTS, so I could actually use the RTS files. So that was kind of a bonus. So I thought, okay, well, if I can use the RTS files, and I can either take the data that I had in RTS and throw it in, then suddenly now I can use RTS in a new platform that actually deals with physical or visual yards and deals with dispatching, but also adds the element of AI. And I'm not just talking AI to move a train up and down the track and stop for signals or you know, have a bit of physics and all that other stuff. What I'm talking about is actually developing a system that not only demonstrates that AI is possible, but allows me to basically have the elements of car forwarding that I want to see and be able to be part of that system at any time, with or without other clients. So yeah, and the other issue with UE4 is you cannot have, as far as I know, the big limitation with UE4 is having modability in UE4. You cannot have somebody go in and have a world editor, which is why Train Sim World, you will never see an editor, as far as I know. As far as I know, you will never see an editor in Train Sim World. It's because it's done in Unreal. You can't do it. Run 8 could go the route of UE4 if it really wanted to. It's possible. I'm not saying that they should, but they could, because considering the fact that most of their development seems to be in-house, they could collaborate the roots into the software itself. If they're looking to expand, well, then they better have editors that work, but they don't seem very confident on their own editors, so at least that's the way I look at it. I mean, I'm surprised they're not into something bigger, personally, because considering some of these are free, but I don't know. I mean, see, I think it's, yeah, I mean, they're into the same languages. As far as I know, John's into C#, I think. I forget what he has run 8 in. I think it's C#. It's certainly part of the the Office or .NET programming's in there. I'm pretty sure it's C# because I don't know for sure, but it's whatever the hell it is. I mean, I honestly I don't know. But I'm pretty sure it's that. I don't see why not. But that can be integrated. Any of those languages can be integrated with UE4. It can be integrated with what's the other one? Man, it's getting late. I can't think of the other one. What is the other one that I'm thinking? Unity. That's the other one. That's the other one I was thinking of getting into, and then I said forget it. I'll stick with the simple little 2D version, because the 2D version allows me to prove my concepts, or not so much prove my concepts, but allows me to work with my concepts and then start developing worlds. That what'll happen is people become it's sort of like what I did before, where we had dispatchers and we could do multiplayer. I think there's a demand for train dispatcher. I also think there's a demand for freight yard manager and the like. But if I can combine the two, have some AI, and then have real world time involved, where basically anybody at any time can join up the network or servers, whoever they want to run, and they can pick up a yard. Now the thing is, they're not going to be able to run a actual train from one city to the other. They're either going to be, at this point, they're either going to be a yard master, or they're going to be in a switching district, or something. The way Freight Yard Manager used to do it was there was maps dedicated for particular industries, so you would roll into a certain area and you could switch. I think I would use that same approach, perhaps, but there are sometimes you have an industry in the middle of a main out in the middle of nowhere too. So I don't know. You could do a lot of things. I forget how Freight Yard Manager did it. I don't know if they had every single industry. They even had Ys and all kinds of crazy stuff, junctions and maps and stuff like that. So it was really weird, but somehow they managed to get a lot of traffic flow. They had hump yards. They had, there's a lot of people who love the hump yards. Well, that's doable on a 2D map just as well, and you're not really missing too much. You're going to see the cars come down. You're going to see them plop into the tracks, and the beautiful thing about that is, guess what? If you want to be the hump operator that day, well, guess what? You can be. If the hump operator is available and he's an AI assigned, well, guess what? He's now available for you to take control. Bingo. If you want to be a dispatcher and the territory is available and it's being run by an AI, well, guess what? You can take over. This is the thing that I envision expanding, because then, as long as the maps are capable of being edited by others, they can turn around, hook up to the network, expand infinitely, and suddenly now you have a true massive multiplayer network, and regions would develop by servers or something like that, or I don't know how the hell I would do it. You can run it on your own, or you can run your own server networks, or however the hell you want to do it, I suppose. I haven't really thought that far through with it. I just want to get the concepts out, and then tie it all together, see what happens. I haven't really gone too far into the deeper, because I want to keep things really simple. I don't want to add to the project. I don't want to add too much to it, but yeah, I do. I would certainly want to see potential third-party development. At the same time, I have to think about my own streams. Do I want to have a server that is going to act as a litigator between all servers. You know, do I want to have it so that you can run your own private server, but do I want to have the ultimate network or something? I don't know. Do I want prescription, or do I want subscription-based things? Do I want it? There's a lot of different ways of doing it. I can make the software free, and then put a subscription-based service if I really want to. It seems to be working for a lot of places. And then the other ones, if you want the other routes and all that stuff, well, guess what? You're gonna have to buy them. You're gonna have to buy the packs. You're gonna have to buy the regions, and they'll be dirt cheap. I don't want to make a killing. I just want to be able to say, okay, well, here, you want this, you want that, go ahead. But I don't know. Anyways, it's getting late. It's 6:45, so that's where I'm going right now. And no, I haven't decided whether or not. That's the only way I'm putting the server up. I'm not putting a server up on this computer part-time again, and just getting bored and wanting to quit. And so option two is only going to happen if I, just totally lost confidence in my ability to program, which I don't think I've lost confidence yet. I've just lost the desire to go in and do it. And, who knows, maybe Run 8 will surprise me. If Run 8 surprises me, then perhaps I'll just hang on and be patient. But like you've said, Quincy, I mean, there's a lot of concerns. And I think the update was the eye-opener for me that just said, okay. I mean, it's been nice been hanging around, but I think I already made the decision before then, to be honest. That was kind of the, like, okay, they're not going to do anything until version 3 if they're still planning on doing that in January. And there's no information, there's no news. I mean, I'm with these developers, I'm with single developers of subsistence who communicate on the Steam forums all the time. The Steam forums are brutal. You think the Run 8 forums were bad? Oh my god. Go to the Steam forums and you see the people on there who will brutally attack some of these developers, and these developers just have hard skin and they don't care. They don't care. And I mean, they're not that brutal, but I mean, it's just like they won't just cut them a break. Well, why is this not open access? How can this be a full version? I mean, they're attacking Barents C. It's got mixed reviews right now, and I'm like to myself, I'm like, give me a break. It's fine. It's only been out since January. It's charging quite a bit, but it's fine. So I've talked with the developers with that. I love it. Hell, it gave me inspiration to do my own. Guess what? I ain't going into a 3D thing. Maybe if I do RTS, maybe I'll get onto other things. Maybe if I clean my house, I'll do other things. So I think that's where I'm headed. Those are the directions I can head. And who knows? I can change my mind again. But I think, believe it or not, I've been pushing more towards... I thought about putting the server up, but nah. I don't think it's happening. Why? Because nothing was added? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, things are very quiet. I don't know. What's I might as well go to 7 since I'm just letting my laundry self-dry. Adding mold or something. My laundry's just sitting in the washer. So, what's happening on other forums? I'm really curious. What's under the newswire? Like the non-disclosure newswire. What is going on? Like where do I? Let's see. Run 8 Depot. I guess I can't even read their stupid forums right now. Because they've locked that out. So. That used to give me some information. Train Sim, obviously. Well, then my gut instincts are right if that's the case. But see, that's the thing though. Do I want to go down with it's like I want somebody to, I mean, put it this way, okay? And I don't want to name names, and I don't want to get anybody into trouble. But when I was over on the Southwest forums, first of all, if you do this on the Run 8 Depot forums, you'll get chastised. That's why I quit. The reason why I quit the Run 8 Depot forums was I was critical of Run 8 in certain spots. I have been the biggest supporter of Run 8 for years. Well, so I've been critical of Run 8, but for years I defended people who, I used to say, look, it's their software. I got my money's worth years ago. I don't know about you, Quincy, but I got my money's worth years ago with Run 8. I really did. I honestly and truly did. That's why I'm a critic. I'm not a critic. I'm not a hater who's sitting on the outside saying, oh, yeah, I bought it and it's garbage. No, it's not garbage. It's become repetitive and boring. And people warned me that would happen. But, and LA was awesome. LA, I didn't buy it, and I wouldn't have. But the fact that it was gifted to me, I mean, if anybody asked me, is it worth getting LA? I would say if you got the money and you'd find interest in it, sure. Go for it. There's a lot of switching potential. There's all kinds of different things to do to keep yourself busy. I'm different than most people who do Run 8 though. I really am, because I see the whole operations aspect. I see the full-blown operations, and I see these big, huge freaking worlds, and I say to myself, how can I connect it all together on a server that uses all of it, runs it either 24/7 or runs it full tote all the time, and just, even if it takes it down in between, how can people do it? Yeah. It hasn't been 8 years. I said 7 the other day, but I'm losing count. But with version 1, you had a lot of updates. You had a lot of changes. I was one of the first guys when version 2 came out and said, I hope you guys take a break, take a vacation or something. And I think they may have taken a break, and obviously they've had a lot of issues with health issues and stuff like that, which I had no idea about. I knew Brad was under some stress. It seemed that way, but because I seen a lot of titles change on the Run 8 site, for example. John's title switched with Brad's for a while, and then it went vice versa. I saw Dale get, Dale was there, and then Dale was gone, and I saw other people, and I saw certain sites go on and off. I saw my site go on and off. So I knew, and then all these copyright things going on. Jesus, Murphy, this stupid ass camera. Yeah, I don't want to sit up like this. I want to relax. Okay, that's a little better, as long as I don't keep kicking the damn camera, because the cord's down by my feet and the camera's right there, or here. Yeah, but so you had, I knew about the stress and everything. The problem is the communication line has been, and this is the point I was getting to. I am on these other things, and I know they took down the Run 8 forums. I used to remember seeing people that were very negative on the one side, but at the other side I saw overreaction. And I was like, you know, you can ban this person, do this, blah blah blah, you know. But it wasn't mine to say, and I wasn't, you know. I mean, I look back and it's like I saw a lot of issues on both sides, but at the same time, I mean, I block people on my YouTube channel. I mean, they would start telling me, "Oh, you're gonna quit again. Oh, you're gonna quit again. Oh, you're gonna quit," and they'd keep rubbing it in. So eventually, I just banned them. I told them I had enough of their crap. Why are you on my channel for? For entertainment? It's like, screw off. I got better things to do. You know, have to reply to people's, you know, some stuff about quitting. I'll say, you know, and they got 4 subscribers. It's like, what the hell did you ever do? So, make no mistake about it, I understand some of the things. I don't understand all of it, but I understand some of the things that the team is going through. As far as people trying to hack their software, copyrights, you know, you had all kinds of things. You got some guys out there who are hacking into it and making their own mods and stuff like that. I mean, and apparently they got permission to do so or something. I'm like, whatever. I don't support that. You know, it's like, because then people say, you know, you had people who are long gone, quite frankly. There's a lot of people that are long gone from Run 8. Who are talking about taking over the software and all this other garbage and just blah 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 blah. I've never said anything like that. I've never said I'm going to hack into the software. I've never tried to copyright it. I've never tried to steal or anything like that. I've always paid what I've wanted, and and quite frankly, because I voted. Just like voting in an election, you vote, you got a right to bitch and complain about something, you know. And I voted with my wallet. I spent plenty of money on Run 8 over the years. Eventually, I stopped spending, and that was, you know, at some point, I just said, okay, well, do I really need this add-on? Do I really need this piece of equipment? Do I really need this route? Do I really need this? Is it gonna make my experience better? And the answer that kept on coming up was an overwhelmingly no. It's not. So I'm willing to go for a version 3, but I'm not going to be like I was in version 2. Version 1, okay. At the end of version 1, I'm checking the freaking Run 8 forum every day. I haven't been on the Run 8... Well, wait, maybe, yes I have. I've been on the Run 8 forum. I did go on the Run 8 forum about... with the update, the recent update. So I did go on there just to see. And the only thing that's changed is the latest update. That's all that ever gets changed on there, is when an update comes. That's it. So, I don't know. What's the latest gossip with Run 8? What are they saying on Run 8 Depot? Are they saying anything? Are they saying anything on Facebook? I don't know what's going on. I'm not even on Facebook anymore. I got right out of Facebook. So I used to follow certain things on Facebook. I stopped doing it. Maybe because I disconnected from things like Facebook, and I disconnected from, you know, all these other social media things. I don't carry a smartphone. The only communications I have are the forums that I belong to, such as TrainSim. Jason's over there. Obviously, he's been through some health issues recently, and not to mention he's, you know, over-the-road trucker, so he's pretty busy. He's not always able to get on and, you know, and mention things or whatever. I'm sure he probably doesn't like my comments too much, or, you know, perhaps, or my critical views of Run 8. I don't know, but he has never really said anything to me personally. Neither has anybody in the team really said anything. So, you know, if somebody wants to debate me and say I'm being critical or I'm being mean or unfair to Run 8, I've had a hell of a run with Run 8. But for me to just take over going back to putting up a server that I'm trying to ask myself, okay, well, what is that going to do if I put up one server? I'll just be like any other server, really, except I might have a, you know, a wiki, and I might be operations based, but essentially it's going to be anarchy, and people are going to be able to do what they want when they want. No, I can't see it. And the more I've thought about it tonight, and I said I was going to think about it tonight, and I was really thinking about it today. I guess now that I'm thinking about it, the more I think about it, I get like this feeling like, I don't think so. And I love the roots. I really do. It's not the roots. The roots aren't the issue. I love LA. I love the Northeast. I love this. I love those roots. It's not that I don't love the roots. I love them. It's because they take so much effort to run them prototypically. And of course it's 7 o'clock. It's too much. It takes too much manpower, and there's not enough manpower out there. So, you know. Hush Hush Extreme, which is really not doing anything but hurting them. Yeah, and you know something? I want to know too. But and it's that lack of confidence that I have in the future that has made me, honestly, I think option 2 is not an option, at least not yet, until run 8. We'll see what happens with run 8. It's in there. Put it this way, it's the ball. So I'm gonna be ending very shortly. It's 7 o'clock Eastern. I have really got to get my butt in gear here. But actually, you want me to keep it going here? I'll keep it going for another. Give me 1 minute, guys. I'll give you. I'll go this a little longer. I'll let my. Oh, hello! Wow, more people are coming on. I'll have to let them know what I've been yapping about, or end it, one or the other. Okay, I won't end it. Just give me a second, okay? Any upcoming updates on the game? You guys talk amongst yourselves for a second. I got to get my laundry out of the washer before. Yeah, I'll be back in a minute. Sorry guys, be right there. Ow. Okay. Well, this game got into a good conversation. Any upcoming updates? That's what we were talking about. What updates on Run 8? Ah, for crying out loud. I gotta get this thing off of here. Alright. Any up... Here. Let me turn this thing around. Oh, that steering wheel I don't use is a perfect camera. Oh, that's better. There. Good enough. You can see my face on part of a screen. Whatever. Or do I want to... Stone Cold. Coke Zero. Okay, here, turn this damn thing this way. Oh, that's a little better. I should have done that earlier. No, we were talking about lack of updates, or sorry, updates on what? Run 8? Are we talking about? Updates to the game. Which game are you talking about? Run 8? Or what? I'm not sure which one you're talking about. Don't know if he's still there. But, so, yeah, it's, give me 1 minute, guys. Hello there, hello there. Okay, alrighty. So, yeah, now I'm going to be yapping and filling my face. What else is new? See, these are the cereal bars I eat. It's those little small things. They are... I get 58 of these in a pack, so I snack on these every... You know, I'm down to 170 pounds, so it's pretty good. So these are my snacks. I don't fill my face with a bag of chips. I try to eat a cereal bar. But, anyways... Oh, cool! You get to see me stuff my face on. Oh, that's disgusting. Maybe I shouldn't have. Oh well. So what else is there to talk about, really? Come on, Quincy. I want to hear something in the chat. Come on. Ask me. But yeah. So, like I was saying, option 1 is to continue doing what I'm doing. If you're okay, that'd be nice. Yeah, you know, the thing that I've been talking about tonight is, and I've talked about this before, what would really get me back into Run 8 is a smaller route. A smaller route with some better quality. It doesn't have to be better graphics. I'm not worried about better eye candy. I just want something that I can run that is limited in area, that's perfect. Ideally, this is what would make me put up a 24/7 server again. And yes, I know I tease Northeast. With all due respect to Northeast, and I know Mikey is here, or he's been around. To put up a server, I've seen this, and the numbers have proven this. I cannot get the numbers on there, despite the fact that I was one of the only... I don't think I was a 24/7 server, though. So I've never tried a 24/7 server. I always wanted to do one, but I never did it. Instead, I did it in a bunch of different blocks, if I recall. And I had one person that was on there all the time who enjoyed it, but I really didn't see the huge numbers. Yeah, but I hear it's garbage for PlayStation 4. Or no. I can't believe they tried to put a train sim on a PlayStation 4. Like, are they idiots? Seriously. I think they're the idiots, personally. But that's... But anyways, Sorry, guys. Here's the thing. Now we're talking about train sim world. When I first seen Train Sim World, I was like, wow. But the little cinematic thing was like, okay, what exactly is this? Is this a movie, or am I actually going to get to do a train sim? And some of the concepts of the wheel, you know, the roundhouse and just some of it seemed really cool. But I never played it. I never bought into it. I waited to hear what other people had to say about it. But I also wanted to know, you know, what kind of editors there were. Was there activity editors? Was there this? Was there that? And there was nothing. Absolutely nothing. What you see is what you get. Have fun. Spend your money, suckers, and buy it. And Dovetail game, okay, is Dovetail the same one that does the trains? Isn't Trains 19 coming out or some baloney? You know, the flavor of the year again. Like, I'm telling you, Run 8 has no competition. This is what irritates the hell out of me. So how many? I'm curious though. How many people are interested in running a dispatch / yardmaster sim? Because Quincy, you like running mainlines. I've seen you. I don't think there's as much demand to do what I want to do. Oh, so you're new to Run 8. Okay, well, I take it. Oh, okay. No, I'm not into Farming Simulator. It looks kind of cool actually, but I have friends that are into that. No, I'm not looking for new games per se. That's just more distractions, unless it's something that I really would like. From a railroad aspect, there's nothing out there that's competition for Run 8. Run 8 is the best for me. That is by far the ultimate train simulator in my opinion. Is it the best route editor? No, it doesn't have a route editor. So, is it the best? What's the other things that are good? Is it the best where you can have multiple routes and share them and all that? Absolutely not, because you're limited to 3 worlds. Those are its weaknesses. If I was able to do a route editor or see more worlds, I wouldn't have an issue with Run 8 because somebody would have met my demand a long time ago. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. And, you know, these things happen. You can't please everybody, and they can only go so far anyways. They've wanted to keep things very tight. They've wanted to keep development to themselves for the most part. Their editors, they don't trust other people using. They do trust some people apparently, but oh, Aron, okay. What fishing game did they own? Huh. Because I got a couple fishing games. Mind you, I got the free ones. Barents Sea, Fishing Barents Sea. That's the one that I actually paid for, only because it was boats. And I'm telling you, I did the other night, and it can be boring and relaxful at times. But if you're tired, it'll put you right to sleep, especially if you're on a long run. I like the fishing part aspect of it though, and I think it's worth $21, which some people are giving them a hard time about, but oh, well, that's good. That's cool. Yeah, and that's. But you should be fine with Run 8, Quincy, if that's the case, because the thing that you want more than anything is to have realistic dispatching. So you want I would say, Quincy, you're looking for realistic traffic conditions. And this is something that I've always wanted to emulate as much as I could. The problem is trying to emulate it has been the difficulty. Because with the traffic comes my insistence on making sure that we have enough local switchers running. I don't like empty yards. I like them to have some type of purpose, but I'm always open for suggestions. I mean, you guys can post on my forums any ideas you want me to consider if I'm overlooking something. Wow. Bet you the free simulators out there. Russian fishing simulator is a free one. That's a pretty good one. You can actually get a boat. Are you running into issues too? I thought only these mid-grade computers are running into issues. Well, what you got a high-end computer, don't you? I know you've been talking about issues, but I thought you've been talking about my issues. You've got issues too on the high end? Because I haven't heard that. I know at least I won't mention his name, but I know at least one person who has a fairly high-end computer, and he can't get the hump to act up. He can't get anything to bugger up. Maybe on some of the servers, some of the issues. I think. What happens is when you have so many AI, and this is interesting, they've upped the AI to 120. I'm not 100% sure why they did that. Because they just that was one of the things I didn't quite understand why they did it. They upped the AI up to 120, I think, from 80. Who the hell is running 120 trains? Unless you're at 100% capacity, or you're planning to expand again. Maybe that's why. Maybe they got another route in mind. Maybe the Yuma sub's coming out next, guys. I'm gonna need a mini computer to run the damn thing. That's crazy. Here, let me put this over here. Sorry, I got pop cans all over the place because I'm supposed to be doing recycling tonight. I get this little container up here, and then I go upstairs and dump it into a bigger container. Apartment life, you gotta love it. If you saw the other place, you would realize I have a lot of work to do. So, but this is fun. I enjoy this. I enjoy these conversations. It makes. I want to be in touch with the community I had or have or whatever the hell it is. And if other people are interested in other things, I mean, I'm certainly open to it. I mean, I've kind of I can't see I'm going to be persuaded to do option number 2. Option number 1, like I said, for me is to develop the RTS, do the dispatching, do that. I said originally I was going to do it in fall. Believe it or not, there was a point at some time tonight that I actually considered doing it and getting back into it. I'm starting to see that I have a lot more time on my hands than I thought I did, because some of the other simulators are not going to keep me interested forever. But and just going out there to buy simulators or buy, I don't have the kind of money to go out there and buy different games and stuff like that. That's where I'm not a typical YouTuber. I'm not looking to increase my channel because I can't make a cent off of this anyways. I have to have 1,000 subscribers. I got 411. And most of the stuff that I like running is not very popular. It's not mainstream. Run 8 is still the most popular videos I have, only because Run 8 is a niche and I'm somewhat known. I'm not nearly as well known as I used to be, but that's okay. Why didn't I just grab for that? It's up here, you dung-dung. There we go. Doorknob. Did I call myself a dung-dung? I have a pop can there. I got more than one pop can. But anyways, I'm not telling you that. You only see one. Here it is. See? Soda for you guys in the States. Pop in Canada. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So what's the issues? Are you having issues? Or are you talking about the servers having issues? I'm trying to figure out. The only issues I've had is because I'm a mid-range computer and I've seen the hump. The hump has been acting up. I first noticed it in Selkirk, believe it or not. I hate to say it to Mikey. I don't know if Mikey's still around, but that was when I first noticed it. Or was it Selkirk? Yeah, Selkirk I had issues, but there was some legitimate root issues going on. I think he fixed. But then by that time, I had, because of different reasons or whatever, I switched over to the southeast and decided to do Waycross. And I started having the same issues with Waycross. And I found that it probably had something to do with the load I was taking in, because I could not keep the frame rates. I would have had to take out the shadows. I would have had to, which I could have done if need be. Like for example, Fishing Barents Sea. Fishing Barents Sea, I could not run properly at ultra graphics, despite the fact that I wanted to. Because what happened with Fishing Barents Sea, if you've ever seen me try to skin the fish, I couldn't get my timing. My son was arguing, you gotta touch it here, no, you gotta touch it here. I say, Emmett, I'm doing it. And you have to skin the fish, you have to have the timing so it comes across like zzz, and you gotta follow the line. And of course the boat's rocking and everything like that. So you gotta basically stick with it as the boat's going through the waves. And sorry, no, I could do that part. That part was fine. It was the part when you actually were taking the fish out of the water in this big, huge line of hooks, and you had to get perfect timing to snap the thing off of the hook and get it in, and the line was being reeled in, and you boom, flash it in. And my timing was totally off, and I said, I looked at the YouTube videos, and it seemed a lot easier. Train corruption errors. Oh. Okay. But I know somebody who isn't, and I trust him. Let's just say he does a lot of Run 8 himself, and he's not having issues. So I'm wondering if XNA is having a certain issue with certain, I don't know, video card. I think video has something, particular video cards may be causing issues or something. I can't explain. I'm sure XNA is an issue. Don't get me wrong, because what's going on is, and I was getting to that whole Fishing Barents Sea thing. What had happened was my ultra graphics were so freaking high that it was slowing down. Not only was it slowing down the frame rates, but it was slowing down my input rates. And this is the thing that happens. And this is also and John already hinted at it. He already said you're going to have performance issues the more AI you run. Well, guess what? The more humps you run, the more tracks that are in a hump, such as Waycross, all those things play into AI, because each and every one of, even though they're not a particular AI train, they're still using the same processes because they're controlling the speed, when to flick the switch, when to do other things. And what's happening is it goes into a loop, and it keeps going and going and going. That same loop is actually drawing the frames on your screen. So as it's going through the loop, it sends all the various commands. Graphics are usually where a lot of the times is the issue, but I've seen it where yes, graphics can be the issue some of the time, but sometimes it is the game engine and or the programming. Something will stall on the processing side. Yes. And 120 AI trains. I want to see this happen. I want to see one of. I honestly want to see. Has this been tested? I imagine it's been tested. They had to have tested this. Come on, Mikey, tell me they've tested it. They just didn't change a variable for the hell of it, did they? I don't know. I see a lot of bug fixes. I wonder if there's other little bug fixes that they're not talking about that may have fixed some of these. Because that was the other thing I was wondering, because I seen certain bugs and I thought it was just my computer, and I thought to myself, okay, well maybe there's certain bugs that were like I said, I didn't know if it was related to my graphics, my medium, or what, or the you know, what the hell is going on. But I get these weird errors in the hump. That's why I laughed. But, oh crap, I'm still playing around with my damn wire. My foot keeps on touching the damn thing. Yeah, screw it. I'm going to be off of this very shortly because I really got to get going. I got stuff to do. I got wet laundry that's just sitting there waiting for a dryer. It's in my basket ready to go. But and then I got to do groceries. Then I got the rest of the night to just twiddle my thumbs and maybe program. I really don't like programming. I like having fun, and if I'm going to do programming, it's got to be small little stuff like text-based stuff and creating files that give me. This is why I love programming at you know, the RTS for Run 8, because it was something that was relatively easy. I had a lot of big plans for RTS version 2. I really did, and I'm talking about the Run 8 version, because what I was kind of hoping for, and it didn't happen, was I was really hoping that AI was going to be able to spawn save trains, but unfortunately they don't. So they spawn either their own, or you can spawn a train and then set it to AI, which is really a manual process that you can't do. You need 2 players. This is why I can't do what I want to do. It was one of the major reasons that I can't do what I want to do. But I am the minority. Most people, I mean, take a look at Train Sim. Take a look at how many times I try to get an interesting conversation going and you hear crickets. I mean, absolute crickets. So, is there any place that you can actually talk except my YouTube channel and my forums, and be a fan of Run 8 yet be critical of it too? I mean, I'm seriously. Is it just me and Quincy? Are we the only ones that are critical of Run 8, or did the people that just stop believing just stop caring and move on? Maybe that's the problem. Is we like trains too much. Okay. What do you mean Yardmaster? I wish we could get something like Yardmaster back, just updated to today's standards. What do you mean Yardmaster? Are you talking about yard duty? What's Yardmaster? I'm not even too sure what the hell Yardmaster is. Yardmaster. If that's the case, then you know, hopefully me going with they are in denial. No, it's not Brad. Oh, I don't think it's Brad necessarily. Okay. Are you talking about Yard Duty? What the hell is Yardmaster? It's an old 2D game. So that's what I was kind of saying, Quincy. If Yardmaster, is it? I think I might have had that. Oh, I had that. Wasn't it where? Yeah, but you like mainline stuff. What the hell? That was where you were switching on like a little table thing, weren't you, or something? And it was like it was just like a small little one screen. It didn't even scroll, if I'm not mistaken. And you got to do switching puzzles or something. If that's the case, I had it. I just forgot about it. And I'll tell you right now, if you haven't seen Freight Yard Manager or Yard Duty, you owe it to yourself to see it, because those are multiplayer. Those are the type of if you have not seen those, I'm telling you, you may like it. The only reason why I'm not into those is because they are they're not pay to play, they're time to play. You only get the big yards if you basically have to run or take ownership of the big yards. It's really weird. Okay, well then that's kind of the direction I want to head in. Like I have no problem with scrolling 2D screen. There was another one that was pretty cool once upon a time, and it was well, I had it. There's another simulator out there. I can't remember the name of it, but it was 2D. It wasn't top down. Mine is top down, by the way. What I'm talking about doing with the yards is top down. It's not going to be on a Google map. It's going to have very primitive graphics, but it's going to allow. It's going to be tied into AI dispatching, AI everything else, so that you can run wherever. The problem is once you get outside the map, I haven't decided whether or not I'm just going to allow the trains to scroll with you and you're going to be able to honk at crossings or whatever. I haven't decided that far. My focus right now is on two things: yards, dispatching. Those two things are the key points. When I mean yards too, that also includes switching industries of any type. So anytime there's either an industrial park or like a switching area, or like say like at Edison. Edison would have its own screen basically. Edison's really a good example. But if it's just like one little industry in the middle of a main line, I guess that would have its own screen, but it really wouldn't take much. The way Freight Yard Manager or Yard Duty used to handle it is you could download the trains and run them. I forget how it exactly worked, but you basically it was an email thing where you can download all the trains off a server and then you could run them on the maps that you owned, so that you could get it across the network. But if you owned a certain map or whatever, I forget how the hell it worked, but it was multiplayer. It just wasn't real-time multiplayer. So you didn't have real-time dispatching or anything like that. It was play-on-demand type thing. And those that had the most time were able to take on the big yards. Like I had a yard outside of Detroit, a big one, for a while. I can't think of the name of it. It was outside of Detroit. It was in Michigan, obviously. But it was big. It was a really big yard. I can't even remember if it was NS or CSX. But anyways, it was a pretty cool. I want to call it Waycross, but that ain't it. Oakwood Yard. That's the name of it. Yeah, and I heard Freight Yard Manager say. See, the problem was the reason why I got Freight Yard Manager. I say Run 8 Train Simulator is the best train simulator. Freight Yard Manager is the best railroad simulator, because what it does is that it has these maps, and you basically get to the end of the map, and then you can save that train to the server. So once you've basically processed the train and you send it off that map, it goes back onto the server, and the server can be accessed by anybody. It's a server that's available for everybody, and it's totally free. Then what happens is you download them and you run them. So the cool thing about that is if you own you can run trains on your own maps from one area across the country to the other, and you can, I forget how it works. Not everybody owns a map. Some people do. Some people are the yard masters of a certain map. Others are totally open for anybody to run. So what happens is, if it's a mainline stretch, especially if it's a mainline stretch, they have certain screens where there's junctions and stuff like that. But you basically take a train and you run it through, and you may go through a few maps, and all of a sudden you're at the other side. So like it's kind of like the ideas with Run 8, where they wanted to save trains from one of the maps on the west coast, and all of a sudden magically spawn it in the northeast or the southeast or something like that. It's that kind of craziness, but it's kind of cool in a way, because but what happens is, if you don't have the time, for example, I had Oakwood. Oakwood was okay. Oakwood was a medium-sized yard, if I recall. But then I got Toronto Mac. Toronto Mac became available, and I wasn't working at the time, or I was working part-time, or I don't know what the hell I was doing. And I got Toronto Mac Yard, which is the biggest hump in Canada. And man, it was so much fun, because I could schedule the trains to go out at certain times. I had the trains coming in. People would supply me trains all the time. And then I could just send them out onto the server, but I would have to process them, build them, the whole thing. It was so much fun. It was almost as fun as Run 8, but as a railroad simulator, it was really cool. Well, see, hear me out on this one. You don't need an advanced game engine. What do you mean, like Unreal 4 or something? I can do Game Builder 2, and it might not be. Here's how I want. Here's how I. This is. Let me talk about RTS. Let me talk to you about my visions. This is what I want to do. Okay. And I really got to get going. I keep saying that, and I said I was going to end this stream, like, I don't know, a long time ago. My clothes are getting moldy. So, I've already talked about the dispatcher module. The dispatcher module was important because that would allow me uninterrupted travel 24/7, regardless of how many dispatchers are available. So 24/7 you have trains coming across the system. They don't get hung up, they don't get confused, and if they get confused, I fix the bugs because I want the AI to work. I want the AI to be able to continue to work. Even if it's not 100% efficient, the whole idea is at least it is better than nothing. So it does its best. And likewise the same with the yards. I want it to be able to do it as efficient. Yeah, sure, absolutely. Yeah, I'll do it real soon. I'm glad this is popular. I mean, I'll do this more often on a Monday or on a Wednesday night. Maybe not a Wednesday because I should be doing laundry, but maybe I'll do this more often. I don't do open chats as much. The reason why I don't keep the chats open is because I can't see. If you guys know a way that I can get without having to use a cell phone, I don't have a smartphone. I do have another computer over there. It's way the hell over there. Maybe I'll talk to my son and we'll try to figure out a way. It won't happen right away because we're in the middle of the summer, but maybe towards the fall. I got a big screen TV which I'm pointing at, or I'm looking at, obviously, in front of me. I'm on the couch in the back. The other side of the room is the big screen TV. I don't have a huge room. Over here is my son's computer, which has a very small monitor in comparison, so I'm looking at it and I can't see diddly squat. I wouldn't be able to read that for if my life depended on it. I don't know if I can get the fonts up on those things. Maybe I could try that. If I could only get that window to be as big as that, I might be able to read it. But what I'll do is I'll maybe see about getting that open, at least so that when I'm doing any live stream, we can talk about these things or talk about what's going on. Because I certainly like to keep it open and communicate with people and see what people have to say and whatever. But anyways, as far as what RTS would do, is you have the AI dispatching and the AI freight yard switching, being able to set off, being able to hump, being able to do anything that requires a manual interaction, as well as having the AI to run the dispatch signals as required to get from point A to point B as needed. So what this allows is anybody who wants to be either a dispatcher of a certain region or a dispatch or a yard master or a switcher in a certain region would have the ability to do that. Now, long term, I can see this integrating with a quote-unquote Run 8 version 3 or 4 or any other simulator that has the balls to take me on. Hint, hint. But of course I got to get my own balls in gear and actually do something, which is the tough part. Let me see, I'm just reading. Problem is his monitor is okay, hold on. You could use his monitor to mirror your main monitor, which is your TV. That way you could keep the chat open on it and still have the main view on your TV. Yeah, the problem, like I said though, I could do that, and there's no problem, and I can even open, like right now the only thing I have the chat. You guys probably can't see it. I would imagine it's covered up by my face, but what happens is I can see this just fine on my screen. The problem is over there is such a small monitor, it's even further away from the big screen TV, so it makes it very difficult. The only thing I could possibly do is maybe consider
putting the couch back over there and then moving everything over here. At once, I think there was a time where I used to have the couch over there for some reason, but so yeah, that's what I could do. But we'll see. I'll see about it. I mean, it's not a top priority in me, but you know, if I can keep you guys happy and get some interest to talking and stuff like that, then I'll do this kind of thing. And this is the thing, is I want to have these conversations. That's why my forum's still open. I mean, it's not being closed. I could delete the damn thing, but it doesn't cost me anything. I'm gonna finish this drink and then I should be going. But anyways, I'll finish up here. So yeah, having you know. Yeah, that's the problem. That's something that is on my mind constantly, Rebel. Is getting enough payback for all the work you put into it. This is a micro niche, and here's an interesting story of a guy who does subsistence. Think about this, okay? And this is the difference between certain developers, to each his own. Run 8's got they got 3 owners, and then they have the beta team. And of course, you know, Mikey's been on here earlier, and Jason. I'm sure they definitely make some money for their contributions. I would imagine, I hope, for their contributions. The rest, I mean, I was a beta team member with Run 8 prior to the launch, and off and on a few times, and I guess I got too critical, or I got too opinionated, or showed something on my YouTube and embarrassed them or something, I don't know, but I never was out there to embarrass them. But anyways, that being said, that was the end of that. Instead of getting a phone call and, you know, talking out, because we both had each other's phone number, we could have talked things out and things would have been fine. As far as I know, we're on okay terms, but you know, stuff happens or whatever, and that's the way it is. So, but let's take their approach. Their approach is they have their own website, which they can modify anytime they want. They probably can modify it pretty easily. I'm guessing if it's their own website, they should be. It's not like they have something that's going to fail them, and all they have to do is write something, and you know, and or whatever. They don't even have to know HTML, quite frankly. If all they have to do is use front page, quite frankly. For what they have on their site, they could use front page. And they should be able to edit a blog. They should be able to edit anything. I used to work with a company where I used front page all the time and uploaded every day. I updated the websites every day with new imagery. Yeah, Kickstarter is something. I personally, for me, I don't feel I feel I'd be unethical to do Kickstarter. Personally, I personally don't have, unless you really have the desire and ability to do it, I would feel unethical. I'm getting into uncharted waters here. I'm learning new tools. Now the cool thing about it is I still have expertise in basic, just basic. Whoops, goodbye camera. And I have expertise in these various tools that are quote unquote basic, but they don't necessarily equate to graphics. I can do I've done graphic programs on a Commodore 64. It's a different beast altogether. I'd feel, like I said, I'd feel unethical to even ask for anything. I could ask for donations. You know, I could do a what do you call it? A Patreon and all that other stuff. I thought about doing that one time, but I never got into it. Somebody mentioned back in when I was doing RTS early on, they said I should take donations, and I said, yeah. But back then, I didn't care about that. Now I'm thinking more long term about trying to help my finances out more long term. I work 35 hours a week at a job that I like, but the cost of living is up, and you know, wages aren't really going up as high as I was like. I got my benefits, you know, everything's okay, but it's still I'm basically still living off of what's left over from my inheritance. That's why I still live in an apartment. I don't have a place of my own. I own some assets. I own some yeah, I own particular assets. I own my car, although I'm paying off an interest-free loan, which will be paid off by the end of May this year. It's a 5-year loan, so I'm almost there. But once that's paid off, then my cash flow will improve, but I will still be either break even or, you know, all it takes. I mean, I got brake work to do on this car. It's a 2014 Fiat. I brought brand new. I got brake work. They're because they're imports. I got a funny feeling it's going to cost me a lot of money. Now, do I have the money in the bank? Yep. Do I have money elsewhere? Do I have other ways I can liquefy? Absolutely. I can liquefy a lot of my stuff. Investments, assets, you name it. But long term, I want to be able to have a net plus as opposed to deficit spending, which is why I've backed off this year traveling as much. I've limited my travel time. I've tried to limit my vacations, and this is why I'm looking at alternate streams of income. I'm not worried about making a killing, but this guy here's what Run 8 does. Okay, they have this cool website that anybody could see on an engine. They have plenty of exposure. I'm sure they get plenty of hits if people are looking, but they don't update. Not only do they don't update their community, but they don't update their potential people that they're concerned about getting opinions. So where do they get opinions about Run 8? Hi. Because what happens? I've put a lot of videos of Run 8. So they don't like me too much because when I'm critical, it hurts them. Well, they have a YouTube channel as well. So they could easily put out their message. They could, and they can do so with very little effort and simply show what they want to show and tease people. Just tease people. Keep people. I'm subscribed to their YouTube channel. All I have to do is see what the hell they post there and say, oh, okay, they got one video on their YouTube channel. That's not a web presence. Facebook, good for them. They got their own Facebooks and people follow them. I'm not on Facebook. I got rid of that a while ago. So they have no presence except in the forums that they choose to participate in. Well, the big assumption out there is that everybody's on Run 8 Depot, because Run 8 Depot is much more positive towards Run 8, and they weren't like dams, which basically turned their back on Run 8 supposedly and all this other stuff. I don't want to even get into the whole issues between Ralph and Brad and all that other stuff, and Ralph and me and all that other stuff, and Ralph going to sue me and all this other stuff. Whatever. You know, Ralph's Ralph. Ralph's gone doing, who knows what Ralph's doing, back to iRacing or something. Just like me, I was into iRacing. I tried that. I had a 2-month thing for iRacing. I couldn't even finish my 2 months. I was just like tired of it. Yeah, that's true. We were critical, but we were also very at least I if you're buying the products and you're showcasing the work and saying this is cool. I mean, when Ski gifted me LA, I know Quincy didn't like it because suddenly I gave up what I was doing because suddenly it was just like, okay, here's LA. But the thing was, I was going to get, knowing that stuff like that is out there, I was going to get bored of it. Mojave, I was just like, yeah, I was having a little bit of fun with it, but I was also, it was just, no. And eventually I would have got tired of it because you're running limited within a bigger region. So when you know those things are out there, you know you're missing out on clients. This is why I want the region that is smaller. But anyways, getting back to what I was saying about the other software that's out there. They just came out with new cars. They recently came out with their latest route, LA, which is awesome. That should make a lot of sales. They recently came out with version 2, which is fairly recently, I would say, that should be still making sales. So they have a lot of revenue streams. They have to split between a few people. Mind you, I mean, Mikey's gets his revenue, I'm sure. I don't know how much Run 8 gets. I don't know those things, nor would I share them. I was going to burn out with it. It didn't matter. I was going to burn out anyways. No, it didn't matter. LA, I saw potential, just to basically do whatever, and then I would have burnt out on the other. It wasn't me burn out; it would be bore out. The thing is, I want an area that not only I can run on my own, but where I have a lot of options, and that others are more than happy to run with me, but enough people are more than happy to run with me. So in other words, if I can get, like Mike the other day, he got 14 people on the server. That's great. If I can get so many people and get that, if I have that number of people that come on, and once upon a time that was my server. Think about it. The Southwest server used to be mine. I gave it up. I didn't have to give it up, but I wanted to try Northeast. I wanted to give Selkirk a try. I said, here, you take it on. I'm more interested in carving out something else in the Northeast, because I saw where the Southwest was going. I could see all the different expansion in Southwest, and it scared the hell out of me because there was so much. But it was just too much. Well, yeah, that, but I wasn't trying to handle the whole thing alone. I was just interested in at least LA, because that was the biggest draw, at least more recently, and more people were getting into that. I was figuring I was relatively safe. But anyways, what's done is done. I'm not worried about it. I had my fun, put it that way. I look in, what was I saying? I lost my train of thought. Holy crap, it's almost 8 o'clock. Laundromat's gonna be closed soon. No. So you got the northeast I went for. The reason why I went to the northeast, nobody else had it, and there was a niche, there was an opening. Once I got there, I realized that I forget how it went, but I think I sort of looked into it, and then I was still trying to figure it out, and there was a few issues, and there was different things that were complicating things, and eventually I toned it down, and I don't know what else happened, but eventually I didn't even get started before there was issues with the way version 2 was doing things, because now version 2's coming online, and version 2 did things wacky, and I couldn't get it to block the trains the way I wanted to, like they did in the prototype, especially even in the Conrail area, which hung over for the CSX era. So they couldn't do the things, and then it was just at that point, it was too much. And honestly, the Northeast running a mainline train, and unfortunately, and this is nothing with Mike's craftsmanship. The Northeast is actually fairly straightforward double track, and it can be boring, although very beautiful in certain areas like the Hudson River is not double track, obviously. Well, yes it is, up to Albany, and then there's some single track sections, but the double track section from Buffalo towards Selkirk, that area, it can be very lackluster. Not Needles like, because there's much more cool scenery, but think about that. That's almost your entire route. That's just a lot of mainline notch 8 running. It reminds me a lot of Needles, except there's more scenery. But you're doing it not just for the one route, but you're doing it almost, not so much longer. I can't explain it. It was California is so diverse, because then you got your hills, and then you get your canyon, you got the Cajon, which is really cool, and all you got all these cool things about it. But not the thing is, the busiest places is not necessarily the more interesting places to run a train. The random train bingo picker. Well, yeah, that's I forgot about that, but yeah, that was one of them. There were so many. There were so many, and think about that, the bingo picker, the bingo ball picker thingamajiggy. Think about this. Okay, let this one sink in, and this is more criticism. I know we sound like we're Run 8 haters. We're not. I still love Run 8. I wish them the best. I want them to sell me version 3. I want them to do something with version 3 that is absolutely amazing, that has to make me want it. I'm really hoping. This is kind of, I'm hoping, but I don't know, because what's happened in the last year has been lackluster, except for the routes they've developed, which is great. But so you've got version 3 coming out. That could change everything. But think about this, though. Before version 2 was released, look on their website. Maybe this is why they don't like updating their website, because guys like me will pick it apart. They had a screenshot that came out that showed the generator, the AI generator. And this is the kind of thing that can be turned against you, and yes, I understand things change, and all of a sudden stuff needs to be more better. But look, you had a screen where you had trains that you could schedule with random variants a la TD3. You had it. For whatever reason, and I've no, I'm not going to say it. I almost got myself into trouble there. I'm not going to say it. Or I'm not going to get anybody into trouble. But you had the whole thing with that screen before version 2 came out that was supposed to be changed over to something more better. Never happened. We've had how many updates? We've had 5 months since the last update. Has that ever been resolved? No. Was it causing issues that we don't know about? Perhaps. I don't know. I can't. I'm under a non-disclosure agreement with Run 8. That's why they don't like me too much right now, I don't think. You know what I mean? I can't. And I won't. And I'm not going to get anybody else into trouble either. So, let's just leave it at that. The whole thing, and there's forget it. I'm gonna get people in trouble. I don't want to do that. So, not that anybody has said anything to me, but you know, there's a lot of people that have been are different things, and yeah, Trump paid you off. Trump's cool. Leave Trump alone. Trump paid me off. But the whole thing is, no, I'm on a non-disclosure agreement with Run 8 because and that thing has been held to this day, despite the fact that I have not been a beta tester for over what, 3-4 years now. It seems like it's been that long. It's got to be. But I've been reminded about it. Let's just say I had a particular idea at one time. More recently. I can't say any more than that. But I was reminded that I am under the NDA. So I can't say anything, and I won't say anything about it. I don't understand why it had anything to do with the NDA, but anyways, whatever. I've been reminded that NDA still holds true, apparently. As if I never really knew that many secrets, to be quite honest. But as far as why was I thinking there's an NDA issue going on here? Oh yeah, never mind. I can't. So yeah, there are little things I will hear about from certain people and etc. And there's rumors and there's all kinds of things. Because there's been a lot of people that have been members of admin and do this and do that. I've never talked to you about anything NDA, so I don't share any information. I don't have any secrets. I really don't. But some people share secrets with me. It isn't the team. I can tell. Yeah, no. I hear different things. That's all. I don't know nothing right now. Honestly, I do not know nothing. All I know is that one time, and this is where it had something to do with that bingo ball picker thingamajiggy. But it had more to do with why it was canned. That's all I'll say. But think about this for a minute. I don't know why it was, but think about this. And this isn't directly. I wasn't even a member of the admin team thingy that there, so I don't know nothing about it. But you had that picture that's still on your website that says it's coming. Or, you know, Run 8's coming, and you know, and blah blah blah, and all this other stuff. Or Run 8 version 2's coming, and I was so excited about that image because I was still excited. Once version 2 came, I was disappointed that that wasn't in it, but I was still excited about it. And there was a lot of things that, you know, suddenly certain files locked up. My, you know, RTS was broken. The software was broken. It had to be either reprogrammed, which it never was. Certain a lot of files were locked, so you couldn't get into certain things that we were actually getting into, legitimately getting into that. Without hacking, that we could get into to access track databases, so that we could not try to create our own routes or whatever the hell else some of these other people like doing in their spare time, to because I guess they like doing things. But anyways, no, RTS became very difficult and almost impossible, which is why we never saw an update to it. I decided not to, and it was more useful in version 1 when you had a spawn trains. In version 2 was no longer required, because now you did have a car forwarding system, you had an AI system. It wasn't as good as RTS, but it still did the job. The problem is the AI generator was garbage, so I was always waiting for that Mobeta generator to come out, and it never did, which, you know, I almost kind of forgot about that, but more recently it has nothing to do with it. It has to do with the fact that they talked about regions, at least a Facebook post did. They talked about new regions and new developers coming on. I have not seen any indication whatsoever that that's happening. If that's happening, either a lot of people are under non-disclosure agreements, and they got something wickedly special coming in version 3, or I don't know what to think. I hope the hell they're working on version 3 right now, is all I got to say, and I hope they're rewriting it, and I hope they're under a different game engine. I really hope they've learned from whatever mistakes they may have made in Run 8 version 1 and 2 under the old engine, and maybe well, that's good. If that comes out with, that's a good start. That alone, if that better generator comes in and we're still playing with the same routes, I will not buy Run 8 version 3. That alone is not going to do it. Not anymore. Because I can run all the trains and have them scheduled and make it nice and cool and prototypical all I want. But if I don't have the manpower to handle a big region, then it don't matter. It's not going to matter to me. It just won't. And that's the thing. This is what makes it real interesting. When you look at the regions, and I've seen talk about various routes such as Alaska Railroad. I don't know how big that was going to be. But if it was going to be more scenic over substance, as in more quality over quantity of line, and they didn't constantly want to upgrade the crap out of it, I would have got it. I would have actually, that right there alone may get me into Run 8, especially if I did enough research, and I have a TD3 territory of it, and they don't even have CTC if I'm not mistaken, so that'd be very interesting how they want to do that. But interesting. But they keep expanding that damn California base, and a lot of people love it. A lot of people love the fact that they can run all the way from Needles, and they can spend 10 hours running a train. Not even real crews. You know, Quincy, not even real crews run that far. Nobody runs that far. They just don't. They have crew. That's why they have crew changes. That's why they have hours of duty. Good luck. Oh, hey, we can run from one side to the other. No, you know, it's one thing to run a crew district. Okay, great. But the problem is with California, you're dealing with you're dealing with a central yard at Barstow. You're dealing with a less power territory going up to Bakersfield. Then you're running you're running a transcon. There's so much stuff going on. And then you got the LA basin. It's just like, whoa. If they expand LA and they start doing the harbor and all that other stuff, I'm gonna be like, ugh. I mean, great. LA's great and all. I just don't want to be playing around. I never want to see that thing go to the harbor. I don't want to see it go anywhere else unless there's AI everything. That is the only way that I will ever want to see any more expansion into LA. It's already screwy as it is, and I understand why they did what they did, and I'm totally supportive of the measures they took. But think about it. They couldn't even do the Alameda corridor, or sorry, not the Alameda corridor. They couldn't even do the one subdivision because it was too paralleled with the other, and they had issues. They even admitted they had issues with running tracks at different angles or something like that underground or something. I don't know what the hell it was, but no, it's just I'm okay with it. I'm okay with the big one theory that they used. I'm okay with the storyline they used. Apparently they fixed the issues with the Alhambra sub too. I think they just fixed them in this update. Honestly, I updated Run 8. I never even ran it. I don't think I ran it once. I did the update on it, and I don't think I ever logged on. Did I log on to a server? I don't think I did anything with it. I don't think I touched it. I could be wrong, but I don't remember touching it. I'm not too sure what you mean by the filters. The filters, I have said, was the best update they've done. But what they did with the filters was nothing special. In other words, it was a small change, but it was a change that was so powerful for being able to handle the car flow. For the longest time in AI, you had cars going all over the freaking place just to go to one destination, and now you had the filters. So the filters were a great start. But filters alone isn't what RTS software was. RTS software is a lot powerful. I don't even think they understand what RTS software was doing. The only way you would know what RTS software was doing, you would have to see it in action on one of my servers and understand what was happening with the car calls, what was happening, even the empty supplies. Think about how the way they have it is, the empties automatically go back somewhere. They don't suddenly show up in a yard and become part of a pool that can go out and service another area again. All it takes, a lot of them have to go back and they become a supply, like tank cars and stuff like that, because of residuals. But box cars are, all they have to do is be cleaned out. They just have to be cleaned out a little bit and boom, they're sent back into service. They're not sent back to all over the place unless you need supply. But there's supply change. There's think of all the bare table trains they have. Man, I can have fun with bare table transfers all over the damn place. That's supply and demand. And that all has to do with the economy. That has to do with more traffic coming in one way versus coming out. So you have your bare tables, because you can only run so many empties going in the one direction, and eventually it's much more efficient to run a bare table train. And then you have the bare table storage at various locations too. They don't care about what I did. They didn't care about what I was doing when I was kissing their butt. They're not worried about it. They're busy doing their thing, and I just happened to be along for the ride for a little while, and that was it. No. They don't care. The only idea of mine that I know for sure that was implemented was the shift 1, shift 2, shift 3, shift 4, control 1, control 2, control 3, control 4. The one where you place your conductor at a location and you shift the number and then you control it to recall that location. That was my idea. That's as far as I know, that is the only idea that I ever had that matched what actually came out. Filters was not necessarily my idea. In fact, I don't even know if I came up with that exact way of doing it. Perhaps I was saying that it would be nice if the car flows were better. They don't pay, honestly, they don't pay attention to me as far as I'm concerned. I post my messages, they don't even, half the time they don't care about, a lot of people don't care about. When I post a big long-winded message, they don't care. A lot of people don't care about this channel, quite frankly. Or my forum. They're not worried about that. It's the diehards that stick it out. And if you look at my forum's pretty dead. There was one time that I was Train Sim was quite like my forum. As far as now Train Sim is actually busier than my forum, because everybody's talking about this and that and about Run 8 and okay. So I mean, I'm busier than Dams. Well, no, sorry, Dams is gone. Sorry about that. I forgot Dams was sitting around dormant for about 6 or 7 or 8 months, saying it supported all Sims now or something until he took it down. Poor Ralph. But you know. But that was the first big one to fall. RTS was still fairly strong then, and then it wasn't too long after that. It has nothing to do with Run 8 Depot, I don't think. I really don't think Run 8 Depot has anything to do with it. Run 8 Depot it does a great service to the community. In fact, their service that Sean does on the side is the Run 8 servers. So Run 8 servers, I mean, I don't think he ever admitted to it, but as far as I know, that's Sean's. That's Sean's puppy. And Run 8 servers helped me for a while because it was the only place that advertised RTS, because it wasn't happening on Run 8's website. So yeah, I probably burned a bridge more recently, but most of the time they don't care. They'll say they took me down because they thought I was dormant or whatever or something, or I posted a message on Train Sim that I wasn't. I don't know. Who cares? But I think I said at one time that I was no longer running a server, but who knows? I'm not worried about it. So yeah. Anyways, it's 8:22. I am long overdue. I don't want my clothes have got to be moldy or right now. At least it will cost less money to dry them. So yeah, that's it for now, guys. I'm gonna call it, and it's way too long. This night's too long. I'll have to do this maybe on a Monday night. That'll be a good night to do this, maybe. So I'll start doing this on Monday. So anyways, thanks for joining me, and sorry for those. I said this was going to be really short and sweet because it turned out to be a long, interesting talk. But yeah, as far as, I'll just sum up what my idea is. As far as the directions I'm going, I think I have to stick with RTS. I'm not putting a server up for Run 8, despite people who might want to see it. And hopefully I will find the will to get into some of the programming. I just haven't had the ambition, and like was said, it's so hard to get a little bit money and whatever. So a lot of times I'm like, okay, do I want to just distract myself? If I have a lot of extra free time on my hands, and I got a funny feeling that's going to happen, especially in the fall when my kid goes back to school, then that might change. But at the same time, I may procrastinate and do something else. And if I'm not too hard up on cash, I may not care, but by the time that happens, I could be in trouble. So yeah, making an extra stream. I was going to talk about doing a book and all that other kind of thing too, but I'm not doing that. So there's all kinds of things I could do. The YouTube channel's not going to grow that much more, I don't think. If it ever does, then hey, put it this way: if my YouTube channel could grow to 1,000, I would play Run 8 all the time. If that's what made it, I'd do it. But it isn't happening. I would never get it up to 1,000. Not on Run 8. I don't think so. Unless, of course, I was on some of the bigger servers and I was kissing other people's butt, maybe. But I don't do that, so yeah. No, thank you. Okay, guys. Have a good one. We'll talk to you later. Thanks for joining.